The teacher goes and says, hey, MTV Latin America is looking for interns. And I was like, MTV, I was 19 years old. I'm like, yes. I got home, I told me, I go, Mom, I know what I'm going to study. I'm going to study television production. And 25 years later, I love what I do.
I am honored to be sitting with Uji Fulgueira, executive producer of live events at Univision. Did you always know you wanted to be an executive producer?
I never wanted to work for news. I'm not a news type person. That was always entertainment.
Yeah.
I was a tech first. And I ended up working 11 years in Despierta América.
Wow. So you've worked your way up the whole ladder.
Yeah.
What else can we highlight?
We have Latin American Music Awards. And then we have Latin Grammys.
No pressure.
Yeah, no. It's all about experience. In television in general, you have to work your way up. But I love music. It's something that's always been very passionate about since I was really young. So it kind of felt, perfect. And I always loved TV too. So it's like, I have like my two things that I love the most, and I'm doing it for a career. So it's amazing.
What's going on, y'all? I'm Alex Quin, and this is Hustle Inspires Hustle podcast in Miami. I am honored to be sitting with Uji Fulgueira, executive producer of live events at Univision. What's going on?
How are you? Good.
I'm really pumped. I've been wanting to do this for some time.
Awesome. I'm excited. It's my first podcast. So.
Is it?
Yes.
But it's definitely not your first set. And that's why we're here. Listen, I'm really blown away by what you do. It takes a lot of work and patience to do what you do, and you pull it off. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Did you always know you wanted to be an executive producer, work in entertainment?
Well, I actually worked in a lot of things within, the production and TV field. I was a tech. I started as a tech first. Yeah. And then from there, we're making, my way up. But it was funny when I went to college, I didn't know what I wanted to be. Yeah. And it's actually, I tell this story and people are like, really? Wow. And I was like, I don't know what I want to study. So I told my mom, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be an accountant, like my sister, my oldest sister. I go, hey, she makes good money, whatever, an accountant. I had no idea, and then I took my first accounting class. Yeah. And the teacher was like, this is what's going to weed out if you're going to do accounting or not. Right. And I hated it. Yeah. It was my first actual anxiety attack. I had it trying to study for that class. Yeah. My sister was like, hey, but this is easy. Don't you get it? I'm like, no, one of the main things they teach you is how to do balance sheets. And you have to have this column matches this column, and my columns never match. I'm like, this is not for me. Yeah. So then what I was doing, my core, curriculum classes, I took one, that was called mass media and communication. Yeah. Which, they talked about journalism, PR, television production, and journalism, PR. Oh, I don't remember. But it was basically all about the different fields in communication. And I was thinking, maybe I'll do advertising or PR or something like that. And in the middle of the class, the teacher goes, this is back in 1995, 96. Mm-hmm. The teacher goes and says, hey, MTV Latin America is looking for interns. And I was like, oh my God. MTV, I was 19 years old. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go and apply. So
MTV was everything at that, moment.
It was. I mean, the real world was just, had just started a few years ago. It was probably season 5 back then.
It was the first reality TV, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So then I went I applied, they called me for an interview. And while I was sitting in the waiting room for waiting them to call in, I started seeing everyone that was coming back for the lunch break and stuff like that. People were wearing jeans and people with dreads and camo. And I'm like, this is cool. Yeah. And then from there, I went into the interview. They explained to me what I had to do and all that. I got home, I told me, I go, Mom, I know what I'm going to study. I'm going to study television production. Just from that first impression that I got from going to that building. Wow. And then I got into the track, and I loved it. And it was just, it was just funny because my mom told me, but I don't understand. What do you do? She goes, I don't know, Mom, but I'm going to be happy.
Well, that's the point.
And 25 years later, I love what I do.
How incredible, right? I could sympathize with that because I almost cried myself in chemistry, and in math at FIU, and I thought I was going to be a surgeon, and then I ended up in marketing and communication. So,
well, that's where I went, FIU too.
You went to FIU as well, so it's great. I mean, they're doing great stuff now too. Like the stuff that you see, they had Bad Bunny last week, Kendall Jenner this week. They had Drake before. They're coming in and they're teaching from actual people that are in the industry right now. So they have pretty cool programs. Hey, look, we're blessed to be in the city right now, Miami. It's in a point where there's a lot of work for people like us.
Yes.
And a lot of it is getting recognized. Everybody from the country's coming over here, and there's definitely a lot more opportunity for creativity. This past year, 2023, you had the awesome opportunity to work on Grammys in Sevilla.
In Spain, yes.
How was that?
Well,
that was a big challenge. Was it the first time that you do it outside of the country?
It was the first time we ever took, and you know, we've done our award shows in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We do PG in Puerto Rico. It was the first time we took it out of the country.
Oh.
And
I was on your Instagram watching the whole time.
yeah. I mean, it had its challenges. You know, sometimes just, you know, the language, you know, even though we speak Spanish. It's
different, yeah.
But like the tech positions are completely different names, what they call it, you know, like, you know, just, you know, the positions, and them understanding our workflow and how we work, and then us having to adjust, you know, to their workflow.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it was different, you know, we didn't travel with our usual crew. So we learned a lot, but we ended up having really great synergy.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was great to take it to another country. We met a lot of amazing people there. So, I mean, you know, I had a blast. I thought, you know, it was definitely a very positive experience. It was very nerve-wracking, though. And that happened to us also the first time, like, we took the show, you know, we took PJ to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So we were like, we didn't know what to expect. Premio Juventud, exactly.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what to expect. But then, you know, we did the first time. So when we went back the second, you were like, okay, we know what to expect. We know how to do things and how to plan things around there.
Yeah.
And then the same thing happened with this show. We didn't know what to expect. So we're like, you know, let's go with an open mind and we'll adjust to what, you know, whatever it is. So I think that was one of the most important things, to go with an open mind and know that what we were producing was a different show.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it was great because you could see it on the air. It wasn't, you know, it had its differences. And we worked together with, you know, with Televisión Española. Yeah. You know, we had, you know, they had positions. They had, you know, like a simulcast of the show going on at the same time. So it was an amazing challenge, and you know, we loved it. We're super happy with the results.
FIU, Uji would have been proud.
Yeah.
Right? So you did the MTV thing, okay?
Correct.
And I'm guessing that went well. What happened
actually,
next?
I never got the internship because I wasn't actually in the program yet. So they couldn't hire me. But it was just, you know, from there I went on and I got into, you know, like into the television production track at FIU, and we would go to to the studios at WPBT, which were like across the street, and that's where we would do our practices. Then FIU actually built a studio like the second year I was in the program.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it was mainly a lot of practice, and then from there, you know, I started as an intern at Univision.
Yeah.
And I never left. Pretty much.
Wow. So you've worked your way up the whole ladder.
Yeah. I started in January of 1999 as an intern for Despierta America.
Oh my God, Uji.
Yes.
You've been killing it this whole time.
You know, it took a lot of work though. I can imagine. It wasn't, you know, I interned for 6 months. Mm-hmm. You know, and then from there, you know, I wanted to be a producer, but there were no jobs as a producer. You know, so I was like, they told me, listen, we have a position as a part-time editor. I was like, I'll take it.
Right.
You know, because I was already like editing small stuff and all that.
You got to be dynamic in this industry.
Exactly. And when we were in school, we were learning, like, they were preparing us for every position, to be a director, to be an editor, to do audio, you know, to go out with our own camera and shoot. Like, they were teaching us all the different fields within production. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. I can edit. And then from there, I ended up becoming the chief editor in Despierta America. Over the past, you know, like several years, I became, you know, I was a part-time editor. Then I became the full-time editor, you know, and I would do the stories. Yeah. In the afternoon, you would go in and you would edit all the stories that you see in Despierta America. We would edit them there. Wow. And then from there, I became the chief editor in Despierta America. So I did that for it took me probably about 8 years doing that. Yeah. And then, you know, talking to the supervising producer, I'm like, I want to become a producer. Whenever there's an opening, give me a chance. And then it took a while. Some other people got there were APs or PAs.
Yeah.
Got bumped up, and then I was like, come on, give me a chance. And then finally they gave me the chance, and they hired me as a producer. And yeah, I ended up working 11 years in Despierta America.
Wow.
So, and then I started producing, but like Despierta America,
there's been a pillar in the network.
Yeah, no.
So it's good that you did that.
Exactly. No, and it's Despierta America, like I always said, it's the best escuelita. There's no other way to describe it, because you're doing live TV, and there's nothing like doing a daily live TV show, because you have to know how to react. It's the morning. Our guests sometimes that will come to the show would be in traffic, and they never made it on time. Yeah, to their interviews, and they had to come to the route, which sometimes has a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So sometimes you had to be able to, in your segment, had to make it on the air. At a certain time. We have a rundown in your segments on at this time. So sometimes you have to, change your segment from this to that. Sometimes this, the guest will talk about something that you weren't really planned for. So you had to react at the moment, change your graphics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, so it's great because you learn how, how to do things, how to adapt to last minute changes. And it was, it was amazing. I was able to do fashion. I became, the producer for like every time there was like an airplane crash, I was the one that had the contact with the experts.
Yeah.
So, medical, questions, like in segments and stuff like that. So you learn.
You started to get the flow of everything, how to keep things moving, who to call, how to inflow of information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you learn a lot. So I think it was amazing. And I'm really glad that, that I was able to do that.
Are you the only person in your family that works in this industry?
I am.
You are?
I am.
So it's weird sometimes to be the only one.
My sisters all have like serious careers. Not that mine isn't
What?
serious,
Yeah,
but people are like, oh man, you must have fun. I'm like, yeah, but I work a lot.
Yeah,
but,
of course, it's a lot of work.
I have
a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, I have 3 sisters. So the oldest one was an accountant.
Yeah.
And ended up actually doing events later. So, the second one is a vet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
and then my youngest sister's an attorney.
Oh, but you guys are decked out. You guys are a cool family.
Yeah.
You guys are all badasses.
A lot. A lot of.
It says a lot about you guys.
Yeah.
It's important. Look, it's very important to go to school. You know what I'm saying? Because look how you discovered like something that ultimately became your life path in school. You thought you were gonna spreadsheets was gonna be your way. You're gonna do accounting.
God, and then thank God I didn't do that.
Yeah, thank God. It's important. It's important. My brother right now is in school. He's at FIU as well, and I think it's such a blessing to be able to do that type of stuff. Especially like I said, in our city right now, all of these kids. If you guys are listening to this right now, like learn from Uji. Like don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Hey, I want this opportunity. What do I have to do? What does it take? Because you can't be passive. Like many times maybe opportunities do come knocking. Most of the time you gotta kick the door down.
Yeah, definitely. And you have to, take chances. Like I was in my comfort zone when I was working in Despierta America. 11 years to stay in one show is a really long time.
Yeah.
And I knew like I never wanted to work for news. I'm not a news type person. I knew that was always entertainment.
Yeah.
And then, and it was also very comfortable. I'm a mom of 2. I had my kids. Mm-hmm. So it was very great schedule to raise children and all that. But it got to a point I was like, I need to change. Mm-hmm. And then, so then that's when I went and I actually looked, I jumped from working, to Univision, the network, and I went to our cable station, to Galavision.
Ah, I got you.
And it was great because it was, I got to learn other skills. Like in Despierta America, you didn't learn how to do budgets and how to manage budgets. You just knew you have this amount, you have this much, you could spend this on your segment, and that's it. So, there I got to learn how to produce long term, which is great for what I do now. We learned, okay, you have to pre-produce, you have to write, you have to edit. When Despierta America was just like bam, bam, bam every day. You're just, going with the flow and, and adapting as you go. So it was great because I learned a lot of skills. We actually launched a new show there, and I took over. I did a decoration show, like a, whole remodel show. So it was great, you know.
Yeah.
So, I got to do, and feel different things. And then I decided in 2012, I'm like, I'm going to become a freelancer. And I actually left, the company.
Wow.
After 2 years of being in Galavision. And
at this point, you were like 14 years in, right?
Yeah.
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 It's a big decision.
I was 13 years in, and So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna be a freelancer, and it was fun. Like, it was great. I got to work for American networks. I got to do reality shows. I got to do other things.
Yeah.
Meet other people. So I really, really, really enjoyed it. And then the funny thing is, like, I remembered it was like I left. I quit officially in June of 2012.
Okay.
And in July of that same year, they called me. They go, hey, we need some help, in Premio Juventud.
But
You want to do it freelance, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll go do Premios Juventud. I always, like, I had worked the shows, but like in like press positions, never like actually worked inside. And that was how I got into doing award shows. So they went and they,
do you think they would have called? Sorry to interrupt you. Do you think that you would have ultimately ended up having the position you have right now if you never left?
No, because it was
They would have just used somebody else.
They would have used somebody else, and sometimes they would, like, some people would work internally. I guess I didn't have the right connections. I just happened to know one of the producers that called me, and they were like, hey, I heard you're freelancing now. Do you want to work the show and be a host producer? And remember, I was the host producer for Omar Chaparro.
Okay.
And then from there, one of the executive producers on the show was like, hey, I really, really liked you. Can you come and help me with all the red carpets? And that's when I started doing the red carpets. So I got into the department doing, the red carpets, and I would work, all the shows. And I they would tell me, okay, I need you to work from this date to this date to this date, the 3 award shows we had back then. And then, and I would still do other things in between.
Right, yeah.
I even worked for the competition, and I would feel like such a traider,
No, but it's
I worked so many years for
That's
Univision.
how the industry works, yeah.
And but I was a freelancer, so but it was, it was great. And then it got to a point where they're like, okay, well, we need you back.
Yeah.
You need to
like,
come
stop
here.
playing.
Yeah. So
let's go. Let's get back.
Yeah. So in 2015, they were like, okay, you need to come, back full time. We need you in the department.
Good. How was that from June to July before that phone call came in? How'd you feel? Like, were you confident? Was it a little bit scary?
I actually wanted to take more time off. I wanted to be like, okay.
They didn't even give you a chance.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I wanted to take, I'm going to take like 2-3 months off and just, prepare myself and, and get ready to freelance. And it was like, that happened in July. Then they called me back. Actually, they called me back to freelance in Despierta América.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, we need you to cover people that are on vacation. And then they called me. I got to work for Gordi Flaca. I got to work for
slowly reeling you back in.
Every single show, in the network until the next award show came up.
Yeah.
And then, then I remember I worked for like TNT and did like other reality. It was... So, it was great. I mean,
all that experience, you were a sponge picking up information and tactics and experience.
And basically, it's like I wanted to sometimes take time off, and I didn't have the time off to take. It was just like,
it's not the industry to take time off.
Yeah.
You chose the wrong industry.
So I was like, oh, it was like my freedom, and then I ended up working most of the time.
So what do you do when you take time off? Like, what makes you happy?
I travel.
Yeah.
I love to travel. I love to meet, go to other places, Europe. I actually lived in Spain when I was younger for 6 years.
Oh, did you? Where?
Yeah, I lived in Palma de Mallorca.
Oh my God, okay.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I lived there from 12 till I was 18, and then I came back to the U.S.
Oh, those are critical years.
College.
You must have had a blast, and that's probably like stayed with you.
It was lots of fun, and it does stay with you. So, so when we going back to Spain to do the Latin Grammys, I felt like I was at home again. It was like, And,
what a full circle moment, right?
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to retire in Spain.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was, just going back to Spain was amazing. It was great.
So you're working on PJ Premios Juventud. You've worked on, you're currently doing Latin Grammys. What else can we highlight?
So we have 4 award shows a year.
Okay.
The one that we have now, we have in February is Premio Lo Nuestro.
Premio Lo Nuestro, yeah.
Yeah, and then from there we have now Latin American Music Awards.
Wow.
Which that one we do in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
and
I know.
We have Premios Juventud, and then we have Latin Grammy, which this year is the 25th anniversary of Latin Grammys.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. I've been doing actually Latin Grammys now. This is gonna be my 12th year of doing Latin Grammys.
Yeah. Wow.
So
what do the next 5-10 years look like for Uji?
Well, I want to keep on working in the award shows in the music industry.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about it. I love music. I've always loved since I was young. I love going to concerts. I love, I'm a like rocker girl. It's
we were talking about that before we started recording.
Yeah. And it's like I obviously know everything that's happened in the Latin market and all that, but my music is rock. 80s, 90s, 2000s, that's my music. But I love music, so it's something that's always been very passionate about since I was really young. So it kind of felt perfect, and I always loved TV too. So it's like I have like my two like things that I love the most, and I'm doing it for a career, so it's amazing. So I would like to keep on doing that for a few years, and then seriously, when I say I want to retire in Spain.
Yeah, for real. So the work for those 4 shows, was it 4 or 5 that you just mentioned?
It's four.
It takes up the majority of a year. Like that's what you spend most of your time doing.
Oh, and then at the end of the year, I also do the telethon.
Well, you just recently did that.
Yeah,
we were over there. That
exactly.
Was cool.
We do that every December, and it's 17 hours of live, television, and we fundraise money for kids with disabilities.
You did great this year. How much was it, like 7, 8 mil?
We raise every year. It was close to 7 million.
Yeah.
6 point something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a long day. That's a long work day for you guys. I know that
it's 17 hours. It's really, really long. It's
Yeah.
like you start and you're like, okay, I'm not going to take the Red Bull. But around when you're already like at 8 p.m. and you're already 12 hours in, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun though. It's challenging, but it's a very rewarding show to do, and you feel great about doing it. And it's something actually that show, we start meetings in like March.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of work to do, So, and basically what we're doing is we roll over from one show to another. Like we're in the midst of doing Premio Lo Nuestro, and we're already planning, Latin American Music Awards. And we'll be doing Latin American Music Awards, and we're planning Premio Juventud. So ongoing. It's constant. Like we're never not busy.
How long have you been doing Premios Juventud?
Premio Juventud has been the one I've been doing the longest. So it's already been, I started in 2012. So
okay.
14 years.
So I have something to point out. Do you remember the premios that was like video game themed and Ricky Martin open?
Yes. That one was so much fun to do.
So you want to know a fun fact? The kid on the screen at the beginning of the show is me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's me. Like it's me playing the video game. I think I don't know if it was on a bike or car. I remember at this point, but I went into the offices. I did the voiceover, recorded, and right as that segment finishes, the opening of the show starts with Ricky Martin, and that was like a really big thing for me because I thought that was super cool back then. I had just graduated high school.
Yeah. Those like when we did those, actually we were able to have a lot of fun, like in not just the shows, the themes and stuff like that. I remember we did like a Chino y Nacho performance, and the whole world was almost like a Mario world, like the old school Mario and stuff, and like the carpets. Like what we did is that we went doing like different video games and stuff, like when we did the design. One day we did the the TBT show, which was decades. So it's like for example, the carpet, we did the entrance is like your 50s drive up movie theater. Then we went into the 60s diner. I even did a performance on the carpet on roller skates.
Yeah.
To kind of like doo-wop area and stuff like that. We had like the 70s disco fashion position, and then like the step and repeat was like these giant like 80s televisions and stuff. So those are fun to do because you really get to get creative, and we try to do that. Like for example, on the carpets, we've been trying to get creative with our openings, our content. We've been like, we try to not, even though like a carpet is very standard, it's interviews, it's fashion, but we try to bring in different content elements to different openings, have different talent every time to kind of be able to bring the audience, so it's not the standardized carpets.
Yeah. What would you say is the most challenging part of the live show?
Well, it depends, because I work both the carpets and the main show. So
you have to oversee both departments.
I work both. So the carpets, it's so when we do a show, you have a rundown, which is, this is what we do, and we plan our interviews. For example, we talk to all the PRs and to managers. We tell them, look, we need your artist to arrive on the carpet at this time. the reality is you could get that rundown 5 minutes into the show and you could throw it into the trash because you don't know. Sometimes, it's like, there could be a makeup, delay for the artist and they don't arrive when they're supposed to arrive. There could be traffic. There could, there's so many things. It's the artist.
So many variables out of your control.
Yeah, and the artist pretty much arrives. So it's a total 100% ad lib show. We are, we have the experience, so we know how to react to it. But basically, you have to be reacting to, hey, this person arrived, so take this person to this stage and interview them. And so that's the thing.
And the hosts need to be on the ball too, because if it's not what they're expecting or something is quick, they only have a few seconds to speak.
Yeah. We try to give them always, we try to respect. Maybe the order is doesn't change, but we try to give them the same artist. But sometimes it doesn't happen. So we have the producers ready on hand. With all the information for every single artist that's walking the carpet, how many nominations they have, what they're doing that night, what are they singing. So we have our producers, everyone has to be on the money, and listening to us. And we need to be preparing a segment before. We need to be, preparing who goes where. So basically, it's a show that's completely, it's you're kind of making it up as it goes.
Yeah. On both sides.
Yeah.
Because you have to make sure carpet is good, which is the intro to everything, but also the live show, everything is good.
Well, the live show is actually, in that sense, it's more structured.
Is it now? Okay, yeah.
It is. It's more structured and everything goes, the things that happens in the live shows, we actually, the day of the show, we do the show 2 times. The main show.
You do like rehearsals in the morning?
In the morning, yeah. Because we go during the week, we go rehearsing individual performances. But the first time we see it together, put all together, is on show day.
Yeah.
And that's when we know, do we make our turnaround times, which is are we able to put the set pieces in time while we're running the other things and all that. So that's really, so after we do the show the first time, obviously all the artists come and they, and they participate in the full run through. Sometimes if there's issues and stuff like that, we meet after and we decide, hey, do we need to make changes? Maybe, add, a nomination in between, move stuff around. So, and then from there is that, we do the live show. But then once we've decided that, the show pretty much runs as is.
How many people are you overseeing at any given time during one of these day of? Like
the carpet we have, it's probably about 300-person staff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the main show, I think it's like 1,000 people.
So you're overseeing like 1,400 people in one night. Well, not every single person, but you're overseeing the operation to work in conjunction with your team.
Exactly. And we, and it's, it's different people have, different, like departments that, you kind of oversee. So like, yeah, we just make sure that our specific, because it's, it's myself, and like in the main show, it's not just myself. There, I have there's an executive producer, which releases Chang, and then I have another executive producer that works with me, and then we do the musicals. But then at the same time, we like run the backstage, and so everyone has like their specific task, and it's a lot. We have a whole logistics team. And they are in charge of logistics, and and that's the only thing they do. We have a person that's in charge of the dancers, person that's in charge of the musicians, person that's in charge of all the escorts that bring the audience backstage. Yeah. So it's a lot of moving pieces that make the show come together.
How exciting!
Yeah,
I know you're probably used to it because it's like it's your everyday stuff and you're used to being good at it. But like outside in, even maybe for your kids or people in your family, people that like look at you from outside in, it's very inspirational to see like what you can accomplish if you stick to something and you want to be good enough at it. Because to be quite honest with you, like these live shows that you're mentioning are the most influential live shows in Latin music. So to be able to have that, and also like you've been with the network so long that you've been able to see like pretty much the whole evolution of Latin music through digital, through streaming, through TV, through radio. You've been able to see all of these aspects. So you have so many tools under your belt that make you kind of perfect for this type of thing. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then, well, actually, it's funny. Like the other day I posted a picture of my first time that I attended Premio Lo Nuestro was in 1999. That was like the old school sets. You didn't have LED screens. You didn't have anything like that. And and we've seen a lot of changes, when we went to, from, the artists, it was just airplay, and now there's streaming artists, and that's one of the things when we build our shows. We need to make sure that we represent everything. We have the audience that had been watching Univision, since back in the day. I mean, so you have to make sure when you build the show that you have
You're
those
catering
type
to
of
everybody.
artists,
Yeah.
but then you have the newer artists, and then depending on the show, each show has kind of like a theme and kind of like who we want to go after. Obviously, Premio Juventud, we want to go over the younger artists, so we'll tend to put a little more the streaming artists, still always having a traditional artist,
Yeah.
more that's relates to to the core of Univision, but then you need to have other audience, and it's like Premio Lo Nuestro is, for example, our traditional show. It's the show that has been around the longest, of award shows in Spanish television. 36 years now.
Yeah.
So it's actually won a Guinness world record back a few years ago, for this. Then, for example, we have Latin American Music Awards, which is a great show where to do fusions with general market artists.
Yeah.
And our artists. Premios Juventud, we obviously want to do the younger, new. We present a lot of artists that we think are going to become bigger names. Like for the first time, like. We had Karol G. Her first time she was on TV was on Premios Juventud. Bad Bunny, Camilo.
Yeah.
Their first performance on live television was on Premios Juventud.
Premios Juventud is a huge catapult for new talent.
It is.
It is it's no joke, and it's always been. I remember growing up, I would go to all the fan pit events and all that. I've been going to that stuff ever since I can remember. That's why I felt like we were gonna have a solid conversation, because I grew up in Miami, grew up going to those shows, watching those shows. So it's pretty cool to see the development.
Yeah. No, and it was it's funny for me when I was growing up, the VMAs were like it.
Yeah.
It was like, it was like you got your friends together and you watched the VMAs.
It was a party, yeah.
And then the next day you would talk about, it for days.
Yeah.
And it was funny. Last year I actually got to go to the VMAs for the first time because we did a simulcast on Unimas.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, we took pictures with the movement, we took pictures with the stage. We were supposed to, but it was great because you're like, man, this is the show.
Nostalgia.
That exactly. It was like I grew up, and it was funny because I went with with my boss, and with one of the writers, and we were like, if the VMAs were, were like an artist, we would be like fangirling. That's what we were. We're like, this is so cool, know. And
you're passionate about it.
Yeah. So so it was funny because it was very nostalgic to be able to to attend and be there.
What do you think is the best piece of advice that you've gotten while working in the entertainment industry?
Well, I think it's experience. It's all about experience, and you have, like in television in general, you have to work your way up. Like I was a tech first. And because I was a tech, I was able to, like there's things that I know as a producer that sometimes if, you haven't been a tech first, you had no idea. And I've been learning along the way. And because, you learn something every day. Like I always take the experience that I can make it, I can make a decision because I've been doing this for so long. But I still learn every single production. I don't think that I know everything. And for me, it's you have to be humble enough to know that every day is a learning experience. Every show, I learn something different and how to make it better for the first, for the next time.
Right.
And I try to apply that. But that's the thing is you have to think of it. It's always a learning process.
Do you have a specific routine you follow when you're going to have a big work day like Teleton or like one of the big award shows? Do you have a go-to like ritual? Do you pray? Do you meditate? I know you do Pilates. Like what makes... outside of work, what makes you successful in, keeping yourself composed, keeping yourself creative, keeping yourself informed? Because it's more than just work, right? I see that you're active. I see that, that it's more than just what you do at the office.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's what keeps me centered is I've been in the pandemic kind of taught me to do this. I was terrified during the pandemic, even going out. And now it's like I've learned that life is so short. You saw so many people that passed away and stuff like that. So life is short. So like one of my models, which actually became one of the themes for Premio, for Premio Lo Nuestro, Vive el Momento. You have to live life to the fullest.
Yeah.
And that's why I like to go out. I will. It's dining experiences, going to listen to live music.
Oh, you're going right after this?
Yeah, I'm actually. Yeah.
You guys are gonna go do some rock.
Yeah. So it's like, to me, it's like experiencing different things.
Yeah.
It's very important. I've also, in the past, like after the pandemic, I started doing Pilates. I'm very passionate about that.
It's cool, right? I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And just, keeping myself active, it has been great, going out with my kids, with my husband. We've had, a great time. So, that's what we do. And then, like I said, travel is amazing. You know, if I, whenever we could, get away, we go ahead and we do it, the beach, the boat, anything. I love, doing stuff outside of work.
Yeah, don't get so like consumed by work, but take time for family and things that, they clear your mind and reset your nervous system, your soul.
And one of the things that I learned, and it was, it's funny, this was a workshop that, that my job, sent me to, is that you need to set boundaries too. You need to be able to say, like, I am very dedicated at what I do in my career, but I do set set boundaries. Like if I'm not on top of an award show on the weekends, I have two phones. I have my production phone and I have my personal phone. So I tend to put my production phone down. I check it, but I kind of okay, at night you could check it, and then you see if something urgent you answer. But most of the times it could wait till Monday.
Yeah.
So that's very important. Especially like in the television show. That's also the time because I don't work a live show. When you work a live show, it can be a little different because you can get urgent things you have to adapt for a Monday show. But so it's like you need to learn to gauge. It's like, what, this can be answered on Monday, or this we don't
prioritize.
Have to exactly and that has helped me a lot too.
What advice do you have for for young people or even people that are in the industry right now, outside of the business, in regards to family, right? You have a close family. I think family is really important, and I think it's slept on. Not a lot of people talk about the importance of having a close family and family values. Where do you stand with that?
I mean, I think it's super important. It's very important, and for me, it's very important. Like, I have a great relationship with my parents.
Okay.
And we just like last weekend invited them to go to lunch.
Yeah.
So it's important to keep your parents close. You won't have them around forever. My sister's always been very close to my sister. So I have one that actually lives in Spain, so she came over, and then all of us went on vacation together. And so I think that's important. And obviously, your core nucleus, which are my kids and my husband. It was like, everyone's attached to the phone. My kids are 2 and all that. They're already teenagers. So once in a while, sit down and have a family meal, take them out of the house. That's why we enjoy Soul Vacation, because, we take them away from their obsession with the phones and stuff like that. So for me, family is very important, because in the end, that's the people that are always going to be there for you.
Yeah. It's a big source of inspiration. And I'm glad, Uji, that you talk about the traveling part, because there's a lot of people that don't understand the importance of traveling. Maybe they don't prioritize it because of the fact that it's financially it's expensive. Maybe it's scary to jump on a plane. But when you come back from a trip, you aren't the same person than when you left.
Of course not.
And that's overlooked a lot.
And it gives, for example, to kids, it gives them life lessons.
Yeah.
And you don't have to jump on a plane to travel. You could just, travel in your backyard. You could go, travel in Florida, jump on a car. I mean, when our kids were little, we drove one time all the way to Canada looking for snow because we wanted to go ski. But, it's like, yes, obviously when you jump on a plane, it's great. But, it's important to disconnect.
Yeah.
And actually for me, when I, we could take, because of the award shows, we could basically take vacation, like one in the summer, long vacation, and one, like around the Christmas time. So, those are the easiest things. So, when I come back inspired and more creative, because I let myself disconnect mentally.
Yeah.
And so then I come back, because to me, creativity is one of the main things in order to create different shows and stuff like that. So I'll come back, or and I'll be full of ideas and stuff like that. So I think it's very important to give yourself that mental break in order to do, I think, any job.
Uji, how do you want to be remembered?
Wow, I've never been asked that question. Well, I think, I just want to be remembered as a great person. I try to be not just, in my personal life, but in my, career. I try to be nice, fair. I still lead strong, it's I want to be remembered as a strong woman that reached her dreams.
Yeah.
And but being fair and nice along the way. I don't,
very important in our industry, right?
Yeah. I don't want to be like, oh, Uji's a bitch. No, I don't want to be, remembered like that.
And, you want to be, she's cool, but don't fuck with Uji, okay? Like, she's sweet, but careful.
Yeah. No, and that, and I want my kids to remember a great childhood.
Yeah.
And just
family memories, all that.
Yeah.
You guys, for winter, you guys went to the snow. Or did you guys recently go to a cabin?
No, that was for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that was for Thanksgiving.
For Thanksgiving, yeah, we went to this cabin up in Georgia, and then now in in winter time for Christmas we went to New York.
Nice.
To New York to DC. And then to Savannah.
You guys need your own plane at this point, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I'm happy that you guys get to travel. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Uji, where can everybody connect with you on socials? I know you're active on socials.
Yes, I am.
Where are the most active platforms?
Yeah. Instagram is the one where I'm most active at. I can't deal with multiple. I don't have TikTok.
Yeah.
And Snapchat I tried, and Twitter I was like, no, this is too much for me. So I'm like, I'm gonna concentrate on one.
Yeah.
And so it's Instagram. So it's at Uji Fulgueira.
Cool. Listen, y'all, if you're listening to this and you like what we talked about, you want to follow her on socials, whatever platform you're listening on, just go to the show notes. You're going to find her Instagram there. Show notes to anything that we discussed, like the shows that she works on. Or go to hustleinspiresussle.com/podcast. This is Alex Quin, Uji Fulgueira. See you on the next episode.